for the last few years in persevering through times of uncertainty, creating spaces like this event to increase visibility for underrepresented art, and building community together with our hundreds of volunteers, members, and event attendees. This year, ImageOut is celebrating its 33rd year as a cultural staple of Rochester. It's one of the longest standing queer institutions in Rochester. Our ongoing success in hosting LGBTQ-focused events and film festivals is a testament to our dedicated group of volunteers, our amazing members, donors, and sponsors who financially support the organization, and all of you who continue to show up for these incredible artists. If you haven't already heard, we're running a membership drive this year with the goal of surpassing our previous record of 120 members. If you're already a member of ImageOut, thank you. Your support allows us to continue running events like this, to create our film festivals, and to create these spaces in our community. If you're not a member, there's no better time than today to help sustain the organization and sustain access to queer art here in Rochester. Some big events I wanted to quickly highlight are the Fringe Festival screening of GBF on September 15th. That's going to be at the Spiegel Garden during the Fringe Festival. The ImageOut Fall Film Festival, which runs October 9th through the 19th. And of course, the ongoing and ever-evolving Seeing and Being Seen exhibit hosted here in the Gallery Obscura. For more information on these and other events, please check out ImageOut's website or go to the Rochester LGBTQ+ calendar of events. We have a QR code out in the lobby that you can scan to access the calendar, or you can find it on Rochester LGBTQ+ Together's website. Today we have an amazing discussion ahead of us, and I want to encourage everybody to take this opportunity to connect with each other, foster dialogue on queer art, both inside and outside of our community, and inspire action to make Rochester a safer and more visible home for our queer community. Thank you to the artists for participating in this panel, and to the George Eastman Museum for hosting us today.
Hi, folks. My name is Elliotte Bowerman. I use they, he, and uni as my pronouns. And I am so delighted that you are all here to meet these incredible artists. It's my honor and privilege to be the curator of this exhibit and co-chair of ImageOut Art as we work on elevating our different types of art and our queer and trans community especially. I wanted to do a couple of quick housekeeping items to give you a sense of how this is going to go today, and then I'm going to very quickly turn it over to the artist because you don't want to hear me. So first off, each artist is going to give a 2 or 3 minute talk about their piece, and then we are going to take a 3 to 5 minute stretch break intermission. At that time, you have each gotten a piece, hopefully you've gotten one of these cards and a pencil. And if you did not get one, Rick in the back has them available. So please, as the artists are speaking, we encourage you to put any questions that you have on this sheet of paper. We also appreciate love notes and doodles. And if you can, there are a couple of demographic items at the bottom. You don't need to identify yourself, but it is very helpful, especially as we are applying for grants, to identify who exactly, like just some of those things that grants are looking for. So thank you so much. And we will collect those after that 5 minute intermission so that we can see what kinds of things the audience really wants to hear during the questions. With that, I will turn it over to Cai Quirk to get started. Thank you. I think it's the other way. This one has a button and not a switch. Give it a try.
Hello.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm Cai Quirk. I use any gender-neutral pronouns. A lot of my work brings together gender, queerness, spirituality, mythology, storytelling. This piece is from a series titled Transcendence, Queer Restoration. And today, interrelated with this piece, I'm going to share a poem that I've written that is also a part of imagining worlds that we can live into as queer folks, as our fullest selves. This piece is titled Shriveled Being. I found a being in the woods, shriveled and left there to die. No water, no food, no sanctuary. Maggots had begun to multiply. I took this being upon my back, not knowing their origins or kind, but kindness is a human trait. I couldn't leave them behind. Resilience gleamed in the teary gaze as they turned their face to mine, far beyond defeat or fear, eyes with a steely shine. Releasing the harm internalized as tears fell like rain, cleansing, renewing, purifying, no longer surviving in vain. I nourished this being back to health. They began to flourish and thrive. A rich green aura came from within, bringing them vibrantly alive. Green rays shone from their very core as into their power they grew, freed from the lies they once were told of auras only pink or blue. But then when they returned to this world with hopes it would now be benign, few others could see beyond two colors, and their shine began to decline. They came back to me for shelter once more, and together we agreed to try to create a culture both free and kind, where no color would live a lie. And so we began to build and to plan, inviting the others we found to bring their colors of every shade to this place of common ground. We built a community so welcoming that soon others wanted to come. Even pinks and blues that once were cruel were no longer quite so troublesome. So instead of fighting our way to the top in a world that hated our souls, our new way of living brought others to join, leaving behind their rigid controls. And soon their systems fell apart, but nobody cared anymore. With these new ways where all were free, people's truths began to restore. And so, dear ones, this is how the being and you and I can create a culture beyond pink and blue and help the world to unify.
Okay, first off, that was awesome. I'm glad we're all here to support each other and just uplift our community. My name is Andrés Warren. I recently moved to Rochester from Brooklyn the last 5 months, and I'm here to talk a little bit about my muse today, my boyfriend Kobe, who's in the crowd over here looking all cute. Yes, but for me, I'm a gay Latino man, so I take a lot of pride in my heritage and just kind of uplifting the community. Usually with a mic in my hand, I'm singing. So this is different from me. No, I'm kidding. But first up, so with my photo, I kind of want to break it down in the beginning. It was like a nice afternoon, golden hour, and this was my first relationship, so it was kind of like a vulnerable moment for me, and I want to share it through my art as well. So in it, I took a first trip with the boo to New York City, down where I used to live, and I took it to my favorite park, which when I do photography, I also like it to have a kind of locational meaning. So it was in Marsha P. Johnson State Park. So it kind of just endorses that feeling of intersectionality and couples of color living and loving together. So in it, I kind of took his aura, which is kind of like a rose gold. He makes me feel good about myself inside and others. So kind of through a mix of the sunglasses and the In Bloom is the name of it, because it was the first year I loved was like officially in bloom as a relationship. And also the flora in bloom. So I kind of want the composition to all be aligned in that nice hue that he makes me feel. So yeah, I hope you guys love the art and enjoy the talks today. At the end, we'll do a gallery viewing, so if anyone has any questions or anything, let me know. Or if you want to kiki and connect on Instagram as well. But thank you.
Hi everyone, that was so romantic. I'm like, my heart is mouthful. I'm Yavana. I also go by Jo, and I'm actually a historian. I'm a trained historian, and I teach, research, and write at Geneseo. And so when I come into photography, I'm coming in with a background that really kind of predisposes me to think about whose voices do we not hear in the past, where can we find them, how can we create a platform for them. That's what I do as a historian. I study everyday history and tell stories of people who we might not have heard yet. And with photography, what's really cool is I get to do that now, right? I get to meet a person, I get to know them, I get to capture them, right? I get to create this record that will stay here. And I really love that about photography. I work with digital and I work with film. So with these 3 photos, this one on your left is taken on Kodak color with an old East German camera. This one is taken on black and white, obviously film. And then on the far right is taken with digital. And all of these 3 photographs are portraits of trans-mass queer people in our community. They're taken in the wild, like this one on the far left is taken on Mendon Ponds. Some of the other ones are taken on at home or in other private spaces. Jarvis's portrait, Jarvis who's in the audience, this portrait was taken literally on the floor of my kitchen. And all of those places are where queer and trans people belong, where they thrive, where they survive, and where they have always been. And I really wanted to capture that, right? Folks everywhere, in public, in private, at ease, feeling joy, feeling good. And at the core of all of these portraits for me are really intimate relationships also with these people, right? So part of the seeing and being seen for me that's really, really, really important is the part where we create the relationship, the trust for somebody to show me who they are, right? To open themselves up to me so I can see them. And I take that really seriously, and I take that with like a lot of love and a lot of appreciation, like being given the gift to see somebody, right? And for you, right, as audience members now, you have that gift too. You get to gaze back at these folks, you get to meet their gaze, you get to hold their gaze, you get to see them. And that's a freaking gift, you know, when we get to see others in our community for who they really are. And I love that, and I'm always grateful when I have collaborators. If anybody ever wants to sit for me, my Instagram is up on the screen. You can send me a DM and we'll figure something out. Thank you.
Jo, that was beautiful. I'm Archie. I'm about to be a senior at the U of R. I'm studying gender, sexuality, and women's studies, so a lot of what Jo just said really resonates with me too. I think with my photos, I wasn't really thinking about the historical context maybe while I was taking them, but I also think when you're in a community, like especially the queer community, which is historically not seen, and I feel like that's probably the simplest terms to explain that. I feel like that's maybe always present in the art that you make, and that doesn't just have to be photography. I've seen so much queer art that I kind of feel like that about, where like time is not linear. So these photos, I guess speaking about linear time, I took this photo about 2 or 3 years ago, my freshman year. My friend Frankie actually is sitting in the audience. This was around when I had first moved to Rochester, and I live here full time now. But I was still kind of finding my footing, and a queer and trans community kind of exploded around me, and I had never had that or seen something like that before. So that's kind of what that photo was born out of. Frankie is also somebody I hold very dear to my heart, and I love that photo because it's kind of the beginning of our relationship. My second photo I took more recently. I had just recently come out as transgender, and I went to play baseball in the park with my trans femme friends. And that was such a beautiful day. I don't know, I felt really seen that day, I guess is what I would say. Yeah, I don't know if I have something super profound to say about seeing and being seen. I feel like it's really hard to sort of encapsulate that, especially with so many different experiences of that. But for me, my art, I'm also a poet, I guess is about seeing myself, probably. And I get to see myself through the people who are in my photos. Thank you.
That was so touching, especially I think in the idea of being seen. It's something that is so personal and something so intimate to every individual person. But I think if I had to quantify it, it's something around the realm of being regarded with care and, yeah, just care in general. I think overall for your community and yourself is something that is really important and integral to being seen. And introducing myself, I am Silas Sims, and watch me cock my head back to see my images, but these are my images. But this is from my undergrad, and specifically sort of when I started to branch out into the queer community here in Rochester, and these are some of my very darling and loving friends who I fell in love with over a period of time and felt the need to give actualization in a physical form and an image to this connection that I had to them and within ourselves. And at the time I was really walking the line somewhere between exploring eroticism versus objectification and sort of that dark underbelly that comes with being a queer man in the community. And within that, especially the people who are at the forefront, those people who are racialized and those people who are gender nonconforming, who sit sort of at the front, are, you always think you know what you're gonna say, and then it all disappears right as you're about to do it. But living in that same vein, I think there's that beautiful wobble between those two, where eroticism can be something very integral to the community and provide a sense of care to each other. But you still have that other side of it, that other aspect that can come off in sort of this scary and dark way. But yeah, I think that overall covers what I wanted to say.
Could you hold this for me? Thank you. I don't know why I had an extra one there, but anyhow, hi. My name is Penny. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Boy. I honestly did not, I do not have an artist's statement. I just react to things. And I've had a background in photography and in news and in sports, and I spent a lot of time with a camera on my shoulder. And when you're doing stuff like that, you also kind of notice things too. And so whenever I notice something, I'll just take out my phone and I'll take a picture of it. These are all of my pictures. I've got a really nice Nikon that I have not touched in I have no idea when, because I just I just take the pictures, and then when I'm feeling something, or when I see something, or when I have a combination of the two, and that's what I did for this one right here, the one I called Sam Nordquist is Dead, because this is what I saw when I walked out onto my front porch, because I could not just sit anymore, and it was a cold day, and that news was just really shocking to me. And I went out, and I have a pride flag. It was a gift from the Human Rights Campaign, and it says "Resist" on it, and I've had it up since I got it, since I transitioned, and because of that, it's gotten really kind of ragged. And I thought, I'm not going to take it down because that kind of actually speaks to me about where we are right now. We may get messed up a bit around the edges, but as long as we're there, we're resisting. And so the fact that I was looking at this, and also because it was so cold, it kind of froze in mid-breeze, and snow started landing on it. And so I took that photo, and all I did with it was I took the color out of the background just to make it look better. And so that's what that one was. The other one is kind of the opposite end. I'm a lilt, late in life transgender. I just made that up. Now, literally, if anything, it's like found art, found ideas, found things. And one of the things that I was really upset about, not really upset about, I was mourning was the fact that as a lilt, I never really had a chance to be pretty, and to feel pretty, and to wear pretty clothes when I was growing up, when I wanted to. I was just really bad at being a guy, but that's what all I was. So I decided one day, screw it. And I got that dress. That's actually custom made for me from eShack. It buttons from the top to the bottom, and the only button that I have buttoned is the one that's right at the middle, right at where the bodice meets the skirt. I did some makeup, and I put my camera down, and I took the picture. And so it's kind of like my, can I say fuck? Can I say fuck? I've already said it. I said it twice now. This is like my fuck you to everybody who says that old, queer, disabled, trans people cannot be sexy. And so that's what that is.
Oh my God, I love that. That's kind of tough to follow, but I'll do my best. Hi, so I'm Daniel Paulk. Most people call me Art. And this is my photo. This is actually a photo of my partner Shiloh in drag as Calypso Moon. He's very, very talented. And I took this photo at Roar's Do You Think You Can Drag a Night? And I think my photographic style is really kind of to just carry the camera with me almost everywhere and just take pictures of things and people that I love, things that happen in front of me that I think capture an emotion or or look just visually interesting. And I love taking pictures of Shiloh in drag because it's very much like it feels like I'm using my preferred mode of expression to capture him doing his preferred mode of expression, which is drag. And so I thought that it was a good fit for the theme of seeing and being seen. And I also think that seeing and being seen is such a great theme for a photography show because photography to me is very much a double-sided process. I very rarely take self-portraits, and at the same time I feel like I am in every single photo I've ever taken because it's a reflection of me and what I thought was beautiful in that moment. And I also do a lot of film and a lot of darkroom processing. So this is actually a silver gelatin print that I made in the darkroom at the Flower City Art Center. And I just think that there's this great way in which I took a photo of somebody else because I thought they were beautiful. And then I spent hours developing the film myself and working in the darkroom under the red safe light and mixing chemicals and things to bring to life an image that captures what I saw and what I thought was lovely about a person or a place. And so, yeah, I think it's just a beautiful show, and I'm so glad to be part of it. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. First off, it's been amazing to listen to all these incredible artists before speaking. I'm Massimo Greco, and this piece, The Holy Mountain, is a collaborative piece between myself and Silas Sims, who you heard from earlier. To start off, The Holy Mountain is something that we created together when exploring this idea of queer tendency. So how is it as two queer artists, how can we approach and build a project together? You know, artists, we have personalities, right? Sometimes working together isn't always the easiest thing because people have ideas of what looks right or what can be. And we found it kind of almost surprising that we were able to work together. And so when exploring that, we were like, maybe this has to do with queerness. Maybe this has to do with the fact that queer people tend to idolize people, they tend to create icons, whether they'll be drag queens, whether that be superstars. And we both tended to approach photography in that same manner. And so we kind of, I think this piece specifically speaks to that idea. Is your mic working?
Turn it back on. No.
No cigar.
Is there another mic? Why don't you pass that one?
We can pass this one. Oh, we got something. I wanted to make sure.
Check. Oh, there we go. Hi again. What was the last thing you said? I'm so sorry.
I think the last thing was speaking about how this piece represents icons, speaking about queer tendency.
Yeah, I think when Moss and I work together, there's this like beautiful interplay of their leaning towards this signs and symbols and iconography, and then my own tendency to push into these areas of desire and relation. And I think specifically within the queer community, that's something that's really, really big, is this tie and this pull to build these different, I wouldn't say deities or like, you know, turning anyone into a god, but these relationships that can at times feel one-sided, parasocial, if you will, but...
Well, I think honestly, you're speaking at something which is also space, right? Like these deities are actually, they're not deities, these DJs, drag queens, celebrities. Sometimes it's not necessarily about them themselves, but the spaces that we gather around to celebrate them, right? So for example, like this deity that we have up here is the Queen Dorian Gay, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, but we'd love to have them. But they are, you know, and were, I should say, incredible DJ community organizer here in Rochester, performing at spaces like Juicebox, Rochester, Soul Rehab. And these are spaces where, you know, intimacy is very prevalent, right? But also spaces where people are gathering around, you know, someone like Dorian. And so this piece sort of like puts that into conversation, right? We're you know, idolizing this beautiful sense of queerness, but also we are all on these steps together of intimacy.
This is why I let her talk for everything.
Do you want to tell folks what it's made out of and like how big it is and why?
Absolutely. Elliotte just brought up a really good point about to speak on process a little bit. So yeah, this is a collaborative effort. For example, like this piece alone is basically 3 separate panels of printed canvas that are then adhered to a almost like 7 foot by 4.5 foot plywood board. That was really integral to the piece because we were trying to call to a different era of painting, which, you know, is, if you look at the Baroque period, the Renaissance period, you know, you see these altar pieces that are sort of large and have body and weight to them. And we did want this to be sort of something that you had to approach and feel the weight of, right? Feel that presence, almost sort of like similar to an altar.
And like borderline a portal as well, because I think in that mythos of world building, especially within the community, we wanted it to feel like you could almost enter into the image, that you could become a part of it along with the people who you can see within it. And I think there's, again, that callback to sort of almost a religious triptych that evokes that sort of idea.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this isn't just photography. there's multiple images in this on top of 3D digital assets that are all being photoshopped together and creating this surreal world, you know, that I think is so important for queer people to do, right? We tend to have to build our own worlds and create fantasy realms that we exist in. Sometimes they're much nicer than the ones that we have to live in. But I think that's really integral to the piece too, that this is fantasy. This is not just reality.
Yeah, and just to like give like the sort of like aspect of all of this, like we included ourselves in it as these two little impish characters off to the side, sort of philosophizing about what it means to like be an abject viewer to this, and then just to add more layers upon it, not only
almost like we're considering being seen and seen.
I was getting there.
You sent everyone home for that
Yeah, exactly. And then also just to like add more layer to it, we like included some of our lovely like CGI artists are some of the people in the bottom of the image, just because I think more than anything else we wanted to represent this community that we had built here in Rochester, not only aligned with our art but also our personal lives and how those all intersect.
Thank you so much. Again, this picture does not do this piece justice because it is enormous. So after this talk, you are all very welcome to go over and see the exhibit and enjoy the museum. So as I mentioned, we are going to invite you to write questions or comments. Again, love notes, much appreciated. And if you can pass them to either end of the aisle, ImageOut volunteers will capture those. But I think let's keep the conversation rolling while that's happening. And the first question that I actually have, and I always have this, whether I'm taking my own pictures or someone is taking a picture of me, and like, how do you know which one is the right picture? How does it, like, do you feel that? Is there, like, how do you pick? Because I'm taking 100 pictures to figure out, like, which is the one. So whoever wants to go first in terms of telling me how you figure out which one's the right one.
I never do. I never know which one is the right one. It's always more of a, I'll speak sort of broadly here, but I think as an artist, a lot of the time you sort of just am like, oh, I have to put this down, it's presentable now. Because a work is like never finished to me. I can always keep going. I can always continue to do more. But at some point you have to be like, okay, like at what point is this something that needs to be seen? And do I need to like let it go and allow it to live outside of me?
Yeah, I think it's something that you definitely, at least for me, like you develop that taste like as you take pictures and as you grow as an artist. Because I personally, like, I've been doing photography for a long time, so I kind of feel like I now have like a viewfinder is like part of my eyeball. Like I walk out into the world and I can almost like see things as though they're like framed up in the camera already. And sometimes it's just a matter of like, I don't know, sometimes it feels like choosing between like your children, like when you have like a lot of stuff that feels like good and evocative. But I think it's about like finding the one image that like, that kind of like when you first saw it, like you were so excited about it, or like it really made you like feel an emotion when you first looked at it, and just kind of trusting that instinct.
At the risk of sounding, I don't know, zen or something like that, it's the right image because I chose it. Because whatever one speaks to me when I'm doing it, why? I could talk about the golden ratio and positioning and color and expressions and different things like that, but I don't want to. It's very much I find things when I'm wandering around, and I will get into a spot and I will see something and I go, okay, this is something that I need to record, and the one that best matches the thing that I saw that I wanted to express is the one that I keep.
The series that the image in the show is from is all self-portraits out in nature, and for that series in particular, I was setting the camera up on a tripod and then had my phone connected to the camera so I could be in the image and then see the image that was created each time and trigger it from the phone. And compared to working with a subject other than myself, this really, it helped, it slowed down the process. And as I was wandering in the woods, the dunes, wherever, it developed like this kind of sense of internal pull in a direction or another. Sometimes that was in circles, sometimes it was, well off the path, or if there was even a path to begin with. And finding I would just come upon a place that just feels right to work with that space, and it is, for me, spiritual as well. So it's not just, so I'm sitting with the space first before I even pull out my camera, and then when I'm creating the image, it's still like collaboratively with the space. And compared to working with another subject where I come home with hundreds of photos and it's like, oh, the person is in a bunch of different positions, there's a point during the photo shoots with myself where it gets to a point I'm like, have moved my arm 2 inches this way, okay, 3 inches this way, and then I see an image, I'm like, all right, that is the one. And so I often, and when I see it in the camera roll, it's like, I can't forget which one, when I go back to my computer, I can't forget which one, because it's like, that is the one, that just fits, that like resonates so well.
And I definitely just want to say that, like so many folks have been saying, sometimes you just feel it, right? The photo of Jarvis, for example, that's in the exhibition, comes from a series of like 400 photos I took that night, right? You came over, we did that shoot, we had so many photos, but that's the first one that I pulled. I immediately edited it, sent it to him, and then the collaborative part of where I knew this was the right photo is that he texted back, holy shit. And I was like, okay, that's the right photo, right? Because, well, how did you feel about the photo? Did that?
I think it really represents the difference from being seen from being looked at.
Right, so Jarvis says the difference between being seen and being looked at, right? And you could tell in that photo, that's how it made you feel. Yeah, I love that. And that's how it's the right photo, when I love it and my collaborator loves it.
Anyone else? Or? Wonderful. Thank you so much. Also, y'all are amazing, and I cannot wait to show the artists the love notes that you have shared, so thank you. So some really wonderful and interesting questions. I'm going to start with the one about a question about time, especially in the tension between a photo as a moment in time versus the image as a moment that transcends time. So how do your photos balance that tension, if you can call it that, within your photography?
I can start. I think with Holy Mountain, that's a piece where I know it's shared between me and Silas that it's aged well. Sometimes there's pieces that I think some of my favorite pieces are ones that always become timeless and gain more meaning over time. These people in the photograph, some of them are no longer in Rochester, some of them are still in Rochester, and the sort of steps that everyone are on, they feel like people are stepping up and stepping down, and I think it becomes really representative of that relationship to a place, since this piece has so much weight to specifically the Rochester community.
That's a really good question. Okay, I think my stab at that question is I'm thinking about the art that I like to make, and oftentimes when I take a photo of something, or I write something, or whatever I make something else, it's a little self-serving because it's sort of about a memory. And I don't know if that makes sense, but a lot of times when I make something, I feel nostalgic for it immediately, whether the thing was like getting my heart torn out or like the best day of my life. I still feel like sort of a profound like melancholy for the thing. And I feel that actually when I look at the photos that I took, not because they were sad days or because I don't know, even that they've passed. I think it's just something about time and I don't know, the way you can sort of immortalize things in your art. So I think that that's my stab at that question.
The images in the series that this one is from are intended to be as if a moment from the middle of a myth or story, but at the same time, myths and stories themselves are timeless, and so the images are also designed to be timeless, could be at any point in time. There are purposely no artificial objects in the images in the series other than a white cloth, which undyed cloth has been in many communities throughout time, and so purposely kind of weaving together that moment in time and timelessness.
Thank you. Changing it a little bit, someone asked, what rules do you break or like to break as a photographer?
All of them? Seriously, I try very hard to, well, partly it's just the way my brain works, the way my mind works. I see beauty everywhere. I've stopped taking a camera around with me, and I try to keep my phone away from me, because if I took every picture that I could see as I'm walking around, I would never get anything done. All I would be doing would be taking pictures of things that are beautiful, of things that are scary, of things that are, that there are, you know, I am not a big fan of rules. That's, you know, I think as a trans person, as a queer person, I think generally we as a culture scoff at things like binaries and shoulds and shouldn'ts. Honest to God, I think if humanity is going to be saved, it's going to be the queers that do it, because we're the ones that don't want to be boxed in. And so anything that I do that shows that freedom, that shows the joy, that shows the despair of having to be something that you're not, works. And if I look for rules, if I look to follow a rule, it doesn't work that way. So no, I don't really consciously follow rules.
Cool. I love that answer. Perfect one. Yeah, I think for me is like I'm a very big believer in like learning the technical rules of the discipline so that you can break them like more effectively. Like I know like technically all of the rules of photography, like, you know, like depth of field and focus and proper exposure and all these things. But sometimes you come to like a place where you can actually capture emotion more effectively by doing something that's like technically incorrect, you know, like overexposing an image to like capture a feeling of overwhelmedness, or like setting a shutter speed too low to capture like a motion blur to show that things are happening. I think those are great like ways to kind of break the rules and express yourself better artistically through doing so. I also personally, as a photographer, one of the rules that I like to break is sometimes I like to take pictures of things that are not really considered beautiful or aesthetic. Like I'm currently working on like a series where I take pictures of the bathrooms in like dive bars and punk bars. And they're usually like kind of grimy and covered in graffiti and stuff, but they're all like so unique. they're like fingerprints of like the establishments that they're in. And so I think it's cool. And I think sometimes if you're willing to kind of like, if you're willing to take a risk and take a photo of something that might not like be beautiful in a traditional sense, I think you could actually come up with something that's a lot more striking and evocative.
The current and most recent project that I've been working on is titled The Queer Temple, and it is a series of images from photos that I take of queer folks and then edit to look like stained glass and print on tapestries, so they're on fabric, which helps be just more accessible in a variety of ways. I've done a lot of installations in non-traditional art spaces, spaces that are completely not art spaces, various places, and it's inspiring to be in a somewhat different medium while still getting to use photography and Photoshop and the tools that I know very well. But it does sometimes get confusing when there's a photo show and I'm like, well, it came from a photo and I used Photoshop, I edited it like I would a photo, but it really doesn't look like it, and it's not framed on paper and things like that. So it's an interesting blend of those pieces, but still very much weaving in the photography aspect.
Thank you.
I have one other thing. I'm sorry. I'm double dipping. Yeah. Screw it. There we go. So I think one of the things is that might be that forming a lot of this is my age. I am so old that in my first news gathering job, I was using a 16 millimeter Bolex and then having to develop the film. And I've been developing film, and when digital came along, I'm like, oh my God, thank God for this. And so I threw a lot of the rules out at that point. And not because of for aesthetic reasons, just for very prosaic timeline and like deadline related reasons. So I don't find myself thinking that way very much. Everything that I do is very much run and gun, off the shoulder stuff. So the idea of what rules am I breaking, I don't, and I encourage anybody to take pictures and call yourself a photographer, even if you're doing it with your camera. If it makes you feel good, if you like the way it looks, then celebrate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Penny. I love that about photography, that it feels so accessible. We're all like walking around with a pretty nice camera in our pocket. So changing the tone a little bit, we've mentioned a couple of times the current political climate and how timely seeing and being seen is as an exhibit. And so I'm curious from each of you, if you're comfortable, to talk about how you feel your role as a queer artist is in this time of both documenting and representing and celebrating our community. Like, what are you trying to do with your art in that response?
I'll go first again, I don't care. This is, I'm making a t-shirt with this on there because I love this slogan. I am committed to the redistribution of comfort. Wherever I go, just because of who I am. I don't know if you know this about me, but I can be a little bit loud and charming. I'm fairly noticeable wherever I go. And when I transitioned, I decided I was going to double down on that. I will not try to make people uncomfortable, but I will not care if I make someone uncomfortable. Hopefully I get people with my shows and the things that I do to start thinking about their comfort and what they need to have happen in order for them to be comfortable. And a lot of times, for them to be uncomfortable, they need to make us uncomfortable. Well, fuck that. So I'm just trying to make sure that, at least when I'm around, that people have to consider whether or not they want to be comfortable or not. That's mine. Anybody else?
This is something that is certainly very important for me, and part of where the various projects, particularly Transcendence, emerged from was recognizing how many queer stories have been erased throughout time and by oppression. And some of these stories have been almost lost and can still be restored, can be found and brought forward, but sometimes things have been completely lost. And so the subtitle of the book that I created with this image and 37 others, and some written stories, the subtitle is Queer Restoration. And restoration looks at the beginning part, re, in that word. This is a cycle. This is not inherently new. Queer people have been around since the beginning of humankind and will continue to be here throughout humankind. These stories are connecting to ancient strands, like ancient stories and strands, even if the threads have been broken along the way. And the middle part, stories are very impactful in how we see the world, how we understand ourselves and the people around us. And they help us be our most deepest selves in the ways that facts and figures don't. And the ending part, ation, in restoration, is active. Like if you think of other words that have that ending, creation, restoration, it's something, healing this, uplifting, celebrating queer people is not going to just magically, naturally happen on its own. It has to be done. And so this exhibition is living into that, is sharing those stories as an act and actively putting queer folks out there in a really powerful way.
I love that answer, and I just want to add one layer to this, right? What the show does, and I think what all of our art does, is creating record today that will be here in the future, right? So that we won't have to dig through and find evidence that's hidden in code words or in someone's forgotten attic because it's not in any archive or library. We won't have to search as hard for queerness or transness because we're making it, right? Elliotte put a bunch of hot, beautiful images in an internationally renowned museum. This is incredible, right? And that stays, and we're making historical record. And for me as a historian, I'm thinking how rich this will be for somebody in the future to see how amazing it is to have this representation, to have people seen, right, today by you all, by us, but also by future people who will have that record. And I absolutely love that.
Okay, it's also great having perspectives of different queers in the community here. Like having your historian aspect of it is very cool. If anyone's lucky enough in their life to live with another gay person, it's an awesome experience. This morning, my roommate and I, who's here as well, we woke up and our first thought in the morning wasn't to talk about anything of importance besides being gay and in love is simply just an act of rebellion, which is crazy. You see two straight people getting married, it's just a normal, everyday thing, it's love. But with gay people, immediately, it's just being rebellious, it's just being us. Be gay, do crimes. That's the motto we like to live by. But yeah, this is great. It's uplifting conversations. And I know after this at Circle Back, if anyone wants to go, we will definitely be nerding out, talking photo and our queer lifestyles. So.
Yeah, I think. Oh.
You go.
No, you go. Here. Yes.
Okay. Sure. All right, I'll do it. Wow. Oh, I lost my thought. Oh, I remember it. It's okay. It's back. Okay, what I'm gonna say is that I think art is really, really important to resistance and rebellion, but I also don't think it's the only thing we can do. I think the notion of like a turbulent political time is sort of difficult for me because when has it not been a turbulent political time? Wow, thank you. I just think that sometimes, myself included, we can get wrapped up in like how awful things are right now. And not to be like, I feel kind of like a pessimist to be like, well, things are always kind of bad. But it is a truth, and there is a historical backlog that people just don't have access to, especially like a queer historical backlog. And I think there's something really important about practicing joy and about creating art and about living your gay life. Like I did that this morning too. I went to a flea market and I had fun. Yes, I did. And but what I'm gonna say is like, I also just don't want the hard work to get overshadowed, because let's be real, like there's some shit to do and it's hard. And there are people on the ground doing that work every day. I mean, Rochester is just so full of organizations who are constantly, and for lack of a better word, like just getting shit done. And I think an event like this it's such a privilege for me to sit up here right now and have a mic and say what I want to say. And I think that it is important for me not to just talk about joy and my art. I think it is really, really important to sort of, I don't know, even plea to the room, like go out and do something. Like if you're mad, go out and do something, because I think us together as a community, that is how, if we actually want anything to be changed, like that's how we get it done.
No, gag it. That was real good. But I think just sort of riffing off that as just like art and like existence as protest, I don't think if my practice would like ever change regarding like the political climate, my artwork is inherently queer by proxy, by myself, by me. I make it queer no matter what I am doing. I think when we enter more of like a sort of intrepid sort of climate, what I scratch for, what I start to run for is visibility. I'm thinking about, I want it to be seen more. I want it to be on display. I want to make sure my art is taking up space. Because I think, again, would any of us, no matter how comfy we get, we would continue to make art, correct? Exactly. So I think that's more what I would push for, like in this sort of day and age, is what I want, which is, again, the very beautiful nature of what we're all doing here.
Very good. Make people think, to show the world what's happening. And our exhibit truly is a lot more pride and a lot more joy and a lot more beauty, but the white space of those walls is all of the other stuff. It's the hard glue that holds us together. And it's not going to go away anytime soon. And also, we're all going to hold each other. That's one of the beautiful things about queerness, is that our community, we really find each other as our family. So with that, I always want our artists to be supported. So I do want to say, if you are at all thinking about ways that you can support our community, ImageOut is working on an art fund to make more art like this happen in the years ahead. If you want to get involved in any way, we really appreciate your time, your treasure, your talents. And I have also encouraged the artists here to promote what they're doing next. So let's just run down the line. If there's a project that you want to share, a way that we can support you, please let us know now, and then we'll wrap up.
I am on Instagram and I have a website, both just my name, Cai Quirk. That's Cai with a C. And you're welcome to find things there. There's the Queer Temple project that I mentioned, the project that this image is from, a poetry series titled Beyond Pink and Blue, a fiber arts piece called Map of Genderland. So there's all kinds of cool things on there. You're welcome to check it out.
Yes. First off, thanks everyone for coming. Let's talk afterwards if you want to connect. Up here, you can see my Instagram. I have my personal account, which I do mostly like marketing, just fun photo stuff. And then SweetShot.jpg. Reach out if y'all want any flicks. Let me know. Currently, I'm actually updating my creative portfolio to start pitching more out to the public. And I'm working on a cool graphic design series mixed with my photos from when I was traveling and living in Spain. So if y'all see those, we'll be up on a shop soon. Thanks for coming.
I Would love to take your photo. If you would like to sit for me, I'd love to do a session. You can book me for a session, or if you're hot, I'll just do it for funsies. It will be good for me.
Somebody
good for
had
you.
to say it.
Yeah. just yeah. And we're all hot, so. Follow me on Instagram, and if you have a college-age child, you can send them to Geneseo. I will teach them really great history.
If you want your photo taken, I would take your photo. Honestly, a lot of my photos come out of like a really great hangout, so you're gonna have to hang out with me, honestly. And that's the truth. Right now, I'm actually working for an organization called Girls Rock. I don't know if I'm maybe seeing some people recognize it in the audience. We just had our second showcase this weekend. The kids in the group perform in a band at Water Street on Saturday. And we have another one coming up for Pride Rock this upcoming weekend on Saturday. Love to see your faces there. The kids are awesome. If you're looking for a way to support specifically queer kids right now, coming to hear their band would be so huge for them. Thank you.
My stuff is up there. I so did not look at that earlier. Follow me. Always working on things, always doing things, busy. Is there anything I'm like forgetting? Are we working on any projects right now? We have like 3 projects going on right now. I don't know what's going on. I just sit at a computer and edit things. Follow me and watch out for the stuff that we're working on. We're always finding something cool and interesting to do, and hopefully in some way giving a voice to other artists by doing that.
I am primarily a storyteller, where I literally tell stories up on stage, and I have a performance. I'm doing a show called Mounting Washington, the story of a mountain and a miracle, which is about my riding a bicycle, pedaling a bicycle up Mount Washington, known as the world's toughest hill climb, when I was 54 years old, and the miracle that happened to me at the top that almost killed me. I'm going to be doing that in New York City. I would love to do it other places. If you would like to see me, and if you have a space that you would like to have me, that would be great. Talk to me afterwards, but let me go to the bathroom first. I'm also working with Boyd Jr., Ariel Allen Loveman. They and I are putting together a song that I wrote about why I no longer date cisgender heterosexual men, called Have You Had the Surgery? And it is exactly what you might think it's about. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to raise funds for it. I'm also starting to sell t-shirts like this one, Queer Comedians Don't Need a Straight Man. I have another one that says committed to the redistribution of comfort, another one that says, yes, I do have a vagina, but mine's an Audi. So if any of you like them or want them, talk to me about that, and I'll make sure I get your money. Talk to you about this. All right, that's it.
I just want to chime in. Penny has a GoFundMe, and also is like low key on the performance. Penny actually rides a bike the entire show, and like mounts Washington each show. It's bonkers.
That's cool. It sounds like a hell of a show. You can follow me on Instagram. I post my photographic work there. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm working on a series where I photograph the bathrooms and dive bars. I'll probably turn that into a zine or something. And I'm also kind of curating a collection right now of photos that I've taken on nights out with my friends that I think are sort of the best ones, and I might also turn that into a photo book or something. So, cool. It was great to be here.
So obviously you can connect with me and Silas on either of our Instagram platforms. We both recently relocated to Brooklyn, New York, and we are now starting our own production house, S&M Productions, where we've been having the pleasure to continue our work and collaborate with more queer entertainers. We've done some projects with Lolita Leopard of the House of Juicy Couture, and as well as DJ Boyfriend Dick, who is an amazing DJ, who's performing at Honcho this year. So some really cool stuff.
Great. Let's give these incredible artists a round of applause. Thank you so much. Also, an incredible, please hand it over to and thank Eastman. This has been just such an incredible partnership. They've been such a wonderful, wonderful support. You are all welcome to go enjoy the exhibit and the museum. And there is an unofficial after party happening at Skylark. It's a dance party called Circleback. It's $5. It goes until 9 o'clock. We're going to be dancing later. So, yeah, we hope to see you there. And we do need to exit the theater to be respectful of their time. But we will see you outside the doors. Thank you so much for being here, folks.